Now, in last month's State of the Nation address, President Cyril Ramaphosa outlined his vision for a bullet train. He was criticized for being a dreamer, with many saying he should focus on getting the existing rail infrastructure to work properly. Well, the United National Transport Union agrees. They want a safe and reliable passenger rail service for all, and they are threatening protest action to get it. For more on this, I'm joined by UNTU General Secretary Steve Harris. Good evening, Steve. Thanks very much for your time. Now, the last time you were here, you said going on strike will be your last option. You are prepared to engage. Does this mean that your efforts to engage with the authorities haven't yielded any fruits?
Thank you for the opportunity. It's unfortunate that I must sit here tonight and say, yes, that's exactly. Our engagements at NEDLAC have deadlocked. The State President's office refused to attend. SAPS didn't appear. And the South African Defence Force did not pitch. Treasury did not attend either. So it's obvious from our point of view, this is our last resort now. And we've got to make this a effort to be able to bring the attention to the powers to be, that they have a responsibility to look after the poorest of the poor and to ensure that we have a reliable train service. Just over the last week, one can see what's happened. We had the derailment on Friday evening of the passenger train to Durban. Those poor passengers, 410 of them, had to sit in the cold and wait for a bus to go collect them in the early hours of Saturday morning. On Sunday evening, we had a level crossing accident where a truck was involved with and 3 people injured. Fortunately, no deaths. However, it's still traumatic for the train driver as such. On Monday evening, we had the burning of another 2 train coaches. Just in the last 18 months, we've had 40 coaches torched. How do we get back to what we're supposed to have? I mean, if you just have a look at the current situation in Cape Town, they're running with 51 sets where they are supposed to have 88 to be able to run a reliable train service. Now, you cannot, under these circumstances, expect passenger rail to do it on its own. It needs a collective effort from all role players, and this is what we've been saying from day one. And that's
remind us again of what you're putting on the table.
We've asked that we need to meet with the Minister of Transport, Minister of Police, Minister of Public Enterprises, the South African Defence Force, SAPS, and the State President, because the State President evidently needs to take these decisions and force them onto the other ministries. And we also have said that we believe that it's time that PRASA needs to move back to Transnet, because Transnet seems to have the capacity to be able to ensure that we've got a reliable service. PRASA has got a lot of vacancies, specifically on the technical environments, and they've lost the plot in the process. But we're only going to be able to do this if we do a collective effort. And we've been calling on this collective effort for some time now. And this is the last resort now. And we call on all the commuters out there, because, you know, the commuters are suffering as well. How many of them in the last 2 years, if not longer, have lost their jobs because they're not able to arrive at work on time? And you know, the Labour Law Act, the Labour Law is quite clear as far as that's concerned. And people have been dismissed just because they are reliant on public transport, which is not able to bring them on time and safe. And that is the big problem we're sitting with.
Now, you've spoken about the how you see the involvement of Transnet, public enterprises, and so on. But what do you specifically want from the South African Police Service and the National Defence Force?
The South African Police Services needs to put more attention and more capacity to ensure the safeguarding of state-owned enterprises. I mean, the trains that are set alight, we haven't got security. PRASA haven't got the financial ability to employ that amount of security. So SAPS needs to come to the party. The same with the South African Defence Force. We're sitting in a critical situation in the Cape where security alone cannot do that. So we need government to be able to declare a state of emergency, bring in the Defence Force, just to normalise things. Once you've normalised the situation and you have been able to have time on your hands to train a particular type of security that you require, then you can pull out the Defence Force as far as that's concerned. But that's what we need currently, and that's the only way we're going to be able to bring the service back to normal.
Well, as we reported earlier, the Minister of Transport today unveiled a 3-point plan which he says will improve rail travel. Were you engaged on this plan at all?
Well, fortunately, the board shared with us the 3-point plan which they presented today, or which the Minister presented today.
Does it make sense to you?
Not really. That they haven't got the capacity. I mean, if you have a look over the last 3 years, they haven't been able to spend 3 billion on new infrastructure. I mean, and Department of Transport has now taken away 5 billion in the last 18 months from Freight Rail, from PRASA, and have given it to SANRAL, because PRASA hasn't got the ability to spend that money. And this is one of the big problems that we sit with.
I'm going to leave it there for this evening. Thanks very much for coming through. Steve Harris, who is from the United National Transport Union.